Well, this is chapter 10, section 1. In this first section we don't do every year. If you're watching this, apparently we are doing it this year. This is how to solve an equation that has lots and lots of wonderful, wonderful stuff in it. Directions: solve each equation showing all your work. Round angles to the nearest tenth and segments to the nearest hundredth. So when it says angles, we're assuming that the angle is always to the right of a trig function. If it asks for to solve for variable that's lowercase, that's assuming it's a side of the triangle. So this first one, number 1, following the order of operations, do what's in parentheses first, grouping symbols. Nothing to do in the grouping symbol, nothing to do in the grouping symbol, nothing to do in the grouping symbol. Then you do exponents. They are exponents here, here, and here. So we square 15 and we get 225. Square 10 and we get 100. Square 6 and we get 36. Those are all the exponents. Now this product is supposed to do multiplication or division next from left to right. This product is independent of the exponent, so we can still do this in this step. We have minus 10 times 6 is 60. 60 times 2 is 120. We don't know what cosine of the measure of angle B is, and if we did know what it was, we still wouldn't write it down because it's more than likely going to be an irrational number. Now we are trying to solve the equation. I guess before we do that, we want to combine like terms. Currently, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 terms in this equation. The blue ones are like terms because they are same variable, same exponent. In this case, the blue terms don't have any variables. So simplifying each side of the equation, the 225 is on a different side, so we'll leave her there. 100 plus 36 was 136. Bring down the minus 120 cosine of the measure of angle B. It does not have a like term. Then, in an effort to try to get this term by itself, we're going to subtract 136 from both sides of the equation. 225 minus 136 is 89. Now when we bring this little fella down, we got to make sure we include the negative sign that's out here in front. That's going to equal negative 120 cosine of the measure of angle B. Now we're trying to get measure of angle B by itself. Measure of angle B is attached to cosine by cosine. We want to get rid of the multiplying by negative 120. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 120. We do not want to plug that fraction into our calculator, because if we do, we're going to have to round. We don't want to round. Rounding is for losers, and we're not losers. Now we're trying to get the measure of angle B by itself. It's attached by cosine. How does one unattach it? By applying cosine inverse to both sides of the equation. I should mention the fraction on the left. If it simplifies, don't bother. So this is what we call the exact answer. The directions say to round to the nearest tenth for sides and, tenth for angles and hundredth for sides. This is an angle. Anytime you do the inverse of a trig function, you're going to be given an angle. Put this in your calculator, you're going to get 137.9 degrees is the measure of angle B. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. Could you do it in less? No. Can you do it in more? If you want to. This requires 6 steps to do these problems, minimum. Let's check out number 2. This one, we're trying to get a by itself, and that is currently a squared. Let's simplify the right side as best we can and then get a by itself. 6 squared is 36. 4 squared is 16. The product of 2, 6, and 4 is 48. cosine of 20, we could figure that out in our calculator, but it's going to give us a rounded number. We don't want that. Simplifying the right side some more, we got 1, 2, 3 terms. Only the first two are like terms, 36 and a 16. If we add those together, we get 52. The right side is as simple as we can get without rounding. There are two terms, 52 and 48 cosine of 20. There is no way to combine those in any way, shape, or form. To get a by itself, we're going to get rid of the squared by square rooting both sides. Anytime we take an even root, we're going to get plus or minus. In geometry, if you're trying to find the length of a side, which is what lowercase a is, it will always be a positive number. Later, when you take pre-calculus, you'll find that sometimes it can be a negative number. But for us, it's going to be positive. You then put that hot mess in your calculator. We know it's going to be positive. This is the length of a side. We're going to get 2.63 approximately. Number 3. This one we're finding an angle again. So simplifying, order of operations, 5 squared is 25, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. The product of 2, 3, and 4 is 24. Still simplifying, the right side has two like terms. We can put those together. Whoops, I made a mistake. Please forgive me. Right here, I wrote 25 squared. It should just say 25. So we're going to get 25 equals 9 plus 16 is 25, minus 24 cosine of measure of angle C. Now the right side has two terms. They are not like terms. So we want to subtract the 25 from both sides of the equation. It's going to give us 0 equals negative 24 cosine measure of angle C. Then we're going to divide both sides by negative 24 because we want to get cosine of measure of angle C by itself. 0 divided by negative 24 is 0. To get measure of angle C by itself, we have to get rid of cosine. Cosine is attached to the measure of angle C by itself. So we're going to apply cosine inverse to both sides of the equation. On the right side, the cosine inverse and the cosine cancels. Put this in your calculator and you won't have to round because it's exactly 90 degrees. Here's why that shouldn't surprise you. Well, it probably does surprise you. But as you get older, it won't surprise you. This is actually a 3, 4, 5 triangle. And we just found the measure of the 90-degree angle. Remember, the 3, 4, 5 is a Pythagorean triple. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. If you're trying to find an angle, it's 6 steps. If you're trying to find a side, it's 4 steps. All right, last one. Trying to find the length of a side. So we got b squared equals 3 squared is 9er. 8 squared is 64. 2 times 3 times 8 is 48er. Cosine of 40 degrees. Once again, we could put cosine of 40 in our calculator, but if we do, we're going to have to round. And if we round, we're going to have to take you to a Turkish prison and leave you there for life. Is that what you want, to be in a Turkish prison? I don't think so. To get b by itself now, we're going to square root both sides. All I did there was combine the only like terms that there were. Just square root both sides. Anytime you take an even root, it's plus or minus. Put that in your calculator. For our purposes, in geometry, which means earth measure, we are going to always make sure that the length of a triangle is positive. So b is the length of a triangle. The length of a side of a triangle, we get 6.02. Once again, if you're trying to find the length of a side, 4 steps. Trying to find the measure of an angle, it is 6 steps. You can do more steps, can't do less. That concludes the notes. The homework would be the same homework assignment that has the same name as these notes, 10.2.